world's toughest fixes, a giant ocean rig needs a new power plant. It's breathtaking. This job is dangerous.
Come back. You lost the cable.
We fix this rig now, or she's dead in the water.
I'm Sean Riley. I'm a professional rigger by trade.
This is the stuff I'm passionate about.
We're going to meet the people working overtime.
Well done.
The unsung heroes.
You guys are rock stars. I'm just learning by watching.
Tackling the toughest problems on the planet. If it's big, broken, we're gonna fix it. On World's Toughest Fixes.
This is extreme. Commercial diving 30 miles from land. These guys call it routine.
Okay, test 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, you can prepare yourself for diving.
And I call it nuts.
Yeah, here we go.
We're about to dive under a massive vessel way out at sea on a really tough gig, swapping out part of the propulsion system.
38-ton fix underwater in high seas in the Gulf of Mexico.
Conditions are horrible. Visibility is like swimming through pea soup. This is what we've come to work on. We have to pull this giant barnacle-encrusted thruster out of the hull and stick a new one back in its place. It's an awesome challenge. How on earth did I end up in the middle of this? Well, last week, I took off from Port Fourchon, Louisiana, and flew 30 miles offshore into the Gulf of Mexico. I'm headed to the DCV Balder, a deepwater construction vessel designed to service the oil industry. There are only a handful of vessels on the planet that can do this kind of work. And any day now, they're going to be shutting this one down.
So imagine swapping out the engine on your car while it's going down the freeway underwater. That's what we're going to try and do here.
I've been invited to witness an incredible operation, a thruster swap at sea. I mean, how many people ever get the chance to see this? The Balder is nearly 2 football fields of floating construction site. And to do her job, she needs her unique propulsion system working 24/7.
This vessel is powered by 7 thrusters. It's basically the propulsion units for the whole vessel. Each one can rotate 360 degrees to propel in any direction. And one of them is what we're here to fix.
Thrusters are simply giant propellers encased in a housing. Unlike standard props with a rudder, thrusters steer by rotating the whole unit, blades and all, generating bursts of thrust up to 55 tons. Just to give you an idea of the scale I'm talking about, check it out. This is the replacement thruster. 38 tons of pure grunty torque that can spin on a dime, and it is not easy to move around. I'm catching up with the engineers to learn why we're doing this swap.
This is it. This is what we're here to see swapped out, right?
Yeah, correct. Okay, you pull it.
Chief Engineer René van der Linden explains the need for routine maintenance.
The running hours is now, say, roughly 45,000 hours.
Right.
Try running your car for 5 years straight. Now, if a thruster dies at sea, it's a big problem. You really need to see the size of this beast to understand why she needs so much power.
This is a very big machine. This is the largest Swiss Army knife anybody ever had, and it won't fit in your pocket. So with all this weight, all this power, all this capacity, what exactly do these ships do? The answer is they do kind of whatever they want.
The Balder is designed to work in very deep water, building oil platforms and laying oil pipe up to 9,000 feet deep. Now, to do this work, she needs to be locked precisely into position above the seabed, in water way too deep to effectively drop anchor. And if she drifts, she can damage an oil rig or a section of pipe in seconds. That's where the thrusters come in. They're part of the Balder's dynamic positioning system. DP, or dynamic positioning, is like a high-tech parking brake. A differential global positioning system is linked to the computers that control the vessel's propulsion units. As the Balder is pushed or blown out of position, the DP automatically adjusts the direction and power of the thrust, continually steering her back on course.
So how do you swap out a thruster on one of these vessels? Well, first of all, there's no garage big enough to take it to, so you're doing it here in the open ocean. Second of all, you can't flip the thing upside down, so that means divers have got to go in and do it from the bottom.
In order to free up the old thruster, they'll have to attach cables to the top of it and drop it out the bottom of the hull. Then a giant crane will lift the thruster onto a waiting support vessel. They'll transfer the cables over from the old thruster to the new one, and then the crane will drop the replacement down into the water. They'll jockey it into position, hook it up, and if everything goes according to plan, we're done.
Een beetje naar voren gaat staan.
Before anyone goes in the water, the Balder's propulsion system has to be completely shut down, as a spinning thruster could easily suck in a diver. On this fix, with a ship this valuable stuck in position, every second counts. The man with one eye on the clock is Captain de Boer. His other eye is on the weather. Gale force winds gusting to 50 miles an hour are a part of life out here, and when it blows like this, the seas start to rock and roll. He has to drop anchor to keep the Balder from drifting during the swap. It's time to go to work. I'll be spending most of my time during the thruster swap on this dive boat. And these are the guys who are going to show me the ropes. They are the pros. They're a tight-knit bunch who hail from Holland, and as a team, they've done hundreds of commercial dives together.
How do you find the plates? Because
I'm the odd man out. This is going to be my first industrial dive, and I know these guys will be watching me very closely.
Cross weldings and longitudinal weldings.
Hank is the dive master. He's the one who calls all the shots.
Yeah,
Then we can dive.
right. I'm hoping that they're gonna get the dive boat a little more stable.
Yeah.
I'm looking down right now. It's kicking around pretty good.
Maybe they turn around the boulder a little bit, so we lay in the shade of the wind.
Live, eat, breathe, sleep, diving.
Yeah,
Diving,
eat,
diving.
breathe, sleep, and diving.
The dive boat's about 150 feet below the deck of the Balder, and the only way down there is on the man basket. This commute to work is not for the faint of heart.
Good visibility today. It's gonna be a beautiful day for diving.
That's the way to get to work right there.
This box is the command center.
There's so much that goes into an operation like this. We're bringing on the hoses right now, air power for the pneumatic chisel. We're firing up the Jenny. We got decompression chamber to get ready.
Ryan is going in first. He's about to go under and set up a line between the dive site and the boat. Perry is helping him suit up.
How we doing?
Chris is on comms, and Arvin is feeding out the umbilical, the diver's lifeline to the surface. These guys are gutsy. They're diving in at around 60 feet for nearly an hour, and they're going under one at a time. The water is murky, who knows what the current is like, and we'll be diving under a huge floating dockyard.
So is he watching that to make sure he gets up before the 60 minutes? Dive Master's watching it.
Yes.
Right, okay.
For even the most experienced divers, things can always go disastrously wrong.
No, Arvin's never had any close calls.
Close calls, sure I have.
You have?
One explosion and one piece of steel on my head.
You have a piece of steel in your head right now.
No, not at this moment, but a few years ago, yes.
Pick up Schleck.
Sorry, they're calling me for the...
Yeah, please.
Okay, I'm about to start playing a really dangerous game. Industrial diving is one of the toughest jobs around, and I'm going in for the first time.
Yeah, good.
Unlike the dive team, I won't be connected to the surface via umbilical. I'm taking all of my air down on my back. This is the real deal right here. I'm jumping in way over my head. 30 miles offshore in the Gulf of Mexico, I've teamed up with a bunch of commercial divers to watch a thruster swap. We're 60 feet under now, and I'm feeling my way through. diver's first task is to prepare the old thruster for removal. Now, you can't just drop a 38-ton thruster out of the bottom of a boat, or it could fall all the way to the seafloor. To control its descent, they'll be feeding 3 winch lines down from the Balder's main deck, through shafts inside the hull and out holes in the bottom. Then they'll attach them to the thruster. Right now, the team is working to remove the covers and get access to the winch lines. Now, removing a few bolts is normally a pretty straightforward task, but not in these conditions. You try removing a bolt that probably hasn't seen a wrench in 5 years, 60 feet down in the dark with no way to get a good grip against the current. Believe it or not, this is the easiest part of the operation.
The first blade off.
1 down, 2 more to go.
With the covers off, the winch lines can be fed down from the deck and come out one of these 3 holes.
This is where the situation gets a whole lot more complicated. Hank has to talk to the winch operators who are feeding the line through the hull from up on deck, and the diver who is securing it 60 feet below the surface. It's a 3-way conference call between the winch ops and the diver, with Hank in the middle. The linear winches are snaking right down through the Balder's hull, and any minute now, one's gonna pop out through that access hole. There it is. That white thing. The clevis fits over the lifting eye, and they're connected by a bolt. Now, it all acts like a very big hinge. The larger the bolt, the tighter the fit, and the stronger it is. But it's also harder to connect. Communications here have to be solid. One slip up and a diver could be in real trouble. That cable's come about 150 feet from the top to the bottom of the Balder. But to make the final connection, we're talking fractions of an inch. Oh, he's so close! Just a bit more. Bam, he's got it. Still 2 more lines to secure this huge thruster, but after 45 minutes, I'm out of air.
Talk about cutting it close.
Brilliant! Look at that.
My tank is toast.
That's the way to time it, huh? Yeah.
Yeah, see? Time to get out. It's only so close you can cut it.
Down below, the work goes on. Ryan is trying to attach the next winch line to the thruster. But there's a problem. You can see him struggling to line up the clevis with the tab, but it's just not sitting flush and he can't get the bolt in.
Still waiting, guys.
Yeah, I see it.
You can't be too careful when attaching metal fittings connected to powerful machines.
Schleck for the diver. Schleck for the diver.
The diver needs a tad more cable. But at the moment, it's just not lining up.
They have to start it all over again to pick it up. Now he tried to...
Suddenly, big trouble.
Zo.
All that force has turned the bolt into a bullet.
Ja, ze zijn daar bezig met die winches.
This is exactly what I was talking about. You know, when you get tons of power being applied to connections, anything can happen. Those winches exert an awesome force.
It's pulled the cable. It's bent one of the clevises. I gotta get divers out of the water. Hold on.
This is bad news. The thruster swap can't go ahead until the clevis is repaired. The good news is, Ryan's okay.
Yeah, you're lucky you didn't lose a finger.
No, the pin hits my face or something.
Right, pops out, something like that. Yeah, all that force you pull up with.
Yeah.
You're okay, you're in one piece.
I'm okay. Whew. I'm okay, Rob. All my fingers.
Very lucky man, he still has 10 of them.
Yeah.
Wow.
For now, the entire operation is on standby. No one knows how long it will take the crew to make the repairs. First, they need to pull the winch line with the busted clevis back up onto the Balder's deck. Then they'll reattach a new clevis to the end of the winch line, and finally feed it back down through the hull to the site of the old thruster. It just goes to show how a small mishap can cost big time. After some truly hard labor, Arvin the diver is able to finish connecting the vertical winch lines. Finally, the old thruster can be dropped safely out of the hull.
So, stand by.
The next hurdle is getting it clear of the boulder's imposing side. And that's where the enormous onboard cranes swing into action. A line from the crane will drag the old thruster from below its housing more than 50 feet out laterally to clear the side of the boulder, and then lift it onto a waiting support vessel where the replacement thruster will be standing by.
This is it. My last few minutes with the thruster on board.
Before the replacement thruster is installed, it needs a new O-ring. The O-ring fits around the thruster's shaft and stops water from getting into the housing, and I've been sent to get one.
You leave one cell, go to another, watertight door.
Believe it or not, there's a hardware store on board that stocks everything, including the kitchen sink.
35,000 spare parts.
Correct.
And you know where they all are, right?
Yeah,
Like this thing.
I try to know, yeah.
You know what it is?
Yeah, it's but this is not funny on the camera, right?
35,000 things, and you got them.
Well, sort of, yeah. I do my best.
Okay, we need a thruster O-ring.
Yeah,
It's the big O-ring that goes around the outside of the thruster to put the new one in.
right.
Do you have one?
I'll show you.
Let's do it.
Follow me.
Okay.
All right. So these are all the main engine spare parts that we keep over here.
Some of these, some of those, a couple of these, one of those.
Pipe lay equipment, spare parts. Toilet stuff, we need it.
Toilet stuff, all important toilet stuff. Got your filters. More filters, filters, more filters. I need one of these.
And the O-ring that we need is this O-ring.
I kid you not. Thruster spare parts. 35,000 objects, Robert.
All right, man.
Well done. Well done. Here we go.
Now that we have all our parts, we can send the thruster onto the supply vessel.
Here comes the crane. They're working with 2 slings to share the load. Shackle pins through, there's a bolt, and then a safety cotter pin that goes on the other side, so there's no way for the shackle pin to come out.
Okay, coming up.
All right, this is where it all happens. We're about 10 feet from tension. When tension comes on, this whole thruster is gonna lift slightly up off the ground. It'll be up to these 4 guys with their little taglines to control it while it's moving around.
Safety during any heavy lift on board is a priority because once it's up, it's free to swing.
Even if it did smash up something down here, that wouldn't be the worst part. The worst part would be potential damage to the thruster. This is the only extra spare they've got. If this gets damaged before it gets under the hull and plugged in, the whole operation's shot. Oh, it's starting to swing away from us. There it comes.
Apart from the vertical obstacle course, it's safe for now.
Let's go take a look. Once again, as the thruster comes down, near any other object, it moves back into the danger zone. If it's free swinging in the air, it's safe. The dangerous part is when they have to land it on this supply ship. The supply ship is using its own DP system, dynamic positioning, to maintain its space relative to us. But there's really nothing it can do about its vertical movement. It's at the mercy of the waves, and right now, the waves are really kicking the stern up and down. It may not happen. They may wait for a calm moment. Ah, he's going for it. No. There it is, there it is, there it is, there it is. Go, go. Oh, ooh, 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 ooh. No, I missed the window. Another big swell comes along. Bam! Woo! That was a heavy hit. Very heavy. They're gonna abort. They're gonna abort. They're pulling it up. That's exactly the kind of impact voice they want to avoid.
The seas are simply too rough. Operation Thruster Swap can't go ahead until they can land the replacement thruster safely on the supply vessel.
Okay, Roger.
Pounding swells are making it difficult to land the new thruster on the supply vessel.
Okay, thanks, Kevin.
So the crew move the supply vessel to the other side of the boulder where the swell is smaller, and they'll try to land the new thruster again.
HMS Explorer of the deck.
Okay, you wait for the right moment, eh?
Spending. Lock on the reflector.
Ooh, here it comes. Here it comes.
Yeah, down. Coming down. Yeah, stop.
Touchdown.
This time, the plan's paid off. Day 3 and things are coming together. They've replaced the damaged clevis and connected all the winch lines to the old thruster. And despite the swell, they've successfully landed the replacement thruster onto the supply vessel.
Stop y'all on first, mate.
Soon the engineers in the thruster room will be ready to release the old thruster from the inside. Once it's free, it's danger time. The lines can twist, the attachments can snap, the thruster could fall. The ops crew need to monitor this stage very carefully.
All right, fully bombed out. Copy that.
That's where this machine comes in. The ROV. It's short for Remote Operated Vehicle. And it kind of operates like a big video game. You control it via an umbilical that also sends a video signal back up to a bank of monitors. It'll be the eyes for the Baldur's crew. It's secured inside this cage until it's in the water, and then it goes to work. The ROV team are doing a last-minute systems check. Everything has to work flawlessly when it's go time. Finally, the swap can start. After 5 years of reliable service, it's time to get this thruster out. Estimated time for the swap is 5 to 6 hours, if everything goes smoothly. Every minute is crucial. While the weather's good, we have to keep going. The massive thruster could cause serious damage to its housing as it comes out of the hull, and the winch lines, under heavy tension, could really hurt someone. It's way too dangerous for divers to be in the water. The first player in, the ROV. The crew will use it to monitor the thruster's removal via remote. They need to make sure all the lines are okay, and that the thruster comes out cleanly.
Okay, slowly down then.
Yeah, it's Menno.
The winches pay out cable inch by inch. So far, so good. Keeping the thruster perfectly vertical is key. If it twists as it's coming out, it could get stuck, and that would be a disaster. Tension on all 3 of the winch lines needs to be kept consistent.
3.5 tons on the white wire.
Finally, it's free, and it's lowered out of the hull. So far, it seems to be a seamless operation.
Coming down on the blue wire.
Amazingly, everything's going according to plan. The supply vessel is backing into position for the swap, and the crane is getting ready to drag the thruster out from under the Balder.
They've got a smaller diameter cable that's just hanging off the side here. That's actually connected to the thruster underneath. Now they're bringing the main hook back in, 600-ton capacity hook. They're gonna hook up to that cable, and then they'll have control over the thruster, and they'll be ready to drag it out of the water.
All right, so imagine this thruster as a giant puppet on a string. You'd need to be a certified puppet master to move this thing from standing up to lying down without crossing any of the lines.
Do we need to check the sockets on it, if it's slack, or is there still enough load on it? There's still tension on it? Okay.
Usually, the divers have a long wait, plenty of time to relax during this part of the swap. But not tonight. the captain suddenly orders divers into the water. There's a storm on the way with high winds, rain squalls, and crazy sea conditions. So we need to move fast.
It's a bit of a last-minute twist. Normally, the divers would wait until the thruster's totally out of the water before they go in to clean out the inside cavity where it used to be. But because of the time crunch and the impending storm, they're sending in divers now with the thruster only halfway out. And hopefully they'll keep moving the thruster down as the divers clean the hole simultaneously. We've just gotten word and everybody's rushing to get in the water.
All right, it's go time. It's pitch black down there with a kicking current, and we now have a rising swell. And I'm not the world's most experienced night diver.
Divers in, rock and roll.
Right. So I thought diving in these conditions in the day was crazy, but at night, this is an entirely different world. Super intense. Rigging lines appear out of nowhere, and the thruster itself, which was a huge point of reference for us yesterday, is gone.
Have a look at that. That gaping hole is where the thruster used to be. Any debris caught inside here when the new thruster goes in could damage its seals and flood the thruster room. This housing has to be cleaned so nothing gets snagged inside when the new thruster is put into place.
But before we get a chance to finish the job, the captain makes another sudden call.
Divers, come back to the support vessel. Divers, come back to the diver support vessel.
Ja, dan moeten jullie alleen als het afdaling weg is gewoon weer doorgaan.
He orders all of us divers out of the water. They have to get the supply vessel into position now, and its powerful props could cut a diver to pieces. There's no time to lose, but this is also no time to lose your head. Stress causes you to breathe more rapidly, and 60 feet down in the dark is the last place you want to run out of air.
We came out following the umbilical. Oh, that's good, yeah.
With everyone out safely, it's time to take stock. The crane has been slowly dragging the old thruster out from under the hull, and the supply vessel is still struggling to get into position. Suddenly, out of the dark waters...
Wow, there it is. That thing has been under the water in hard service for 5 years. We still have the dangerous job of landing this one on the barge, reconnecting the other, and getting the other back in. There's a long ways to go still, but that is pretty cool. Every step that happens in the next 30 minutes to an hour is completely crucial. Right now, I've got to get the boat underneath it, get it up out of the water, keep it from spinning, and land it gingerly on top next to the other thruster without hitting it. All this is happening in a very small space. Our vessel's here, the thruster's there, the next vessel's got to come in right next to us. They're literally going to be kissing each other, but moving up and down 10, 15 feet.
You can see how everything hangs on the weather. And conditions are not improving. Anything suspended can start to swing. And the heavier the load, the greater the danger.
Now I see why they left the thing in the water in the first place. As soon as it came out of the water, it just started to swing. It's almost doing full rotations.
Look, the waves become worse now, eh? Very dangerous.
Suddenly, there's another danger. The ROV is also swinging wildly.
Oh my God, check it out.
Holy shit. Oh my God. The ROV just fell out of its cage. It tumbled about 150 feet into the ocean. It's now in rough seas. And the ROV itself weighs tons, but it's neutrally buoyant, so it should stay at the surface. I don't know for how long. It broke its umbilical on the way down, so there's no control of it now. It's just free floating out there. It's $1 million piece of machinery that's just floating away.
Talk about action.
Holy shit.
We're at the most critical stage of this thruster exchange when Mother Nature plays her wild card. Now we've got an ROV valued at millions floating off into the Gulf of Mexico.
We see the flashing light of the rescue boat. Okay. Explorer, copy that? Explorer copies. Okay, Cap, thanks for your help. I think you picked it up with the spotlight.
Unbelievable. It's pitch black, it's foggy, the seas are choppy, and the ROV is now totally submerged. The crew have called out all resources, but it's going to be a tall order to find anything in that mess.
All right, so you got to think on your feet, and you got to be able to react in an environment like this. What's going on is that they've got the ROV. They've managed to drag it back over here, but the only crane that can lift it out of the water and get it back on deck has a thruster hanging from it. What you got to do is try to find somewhere safe to put it that you're not going to lose it. And the safest place right now is attached to us at this boat. We're going to drag it over here and lash it to the side of the ship and hope that it stays here overnight till the crane's free.
I'm the only one with my survival gear still on, so I go over the side to tie it up.
Hopefully that'll keep it for a while. We won't lose it again.
With one crisis over, it's time to get back to the task at hand. And the thruster is still swinging.
We're standing by right here. 78,000-ton boulder is right next to us, and all three of them are coming together in this tiny little churning area.
All right, this is what we've been waiting for. Now, you remember how tough it was to land the new thruster on the supply vessel? Well, that was in the open ocean during the day. Conditions here are infinitely worse. This time it's dark, the working space is cramped, and the seas are even rougher.
The captain of the HOS Explorer has got his ship backed into place, but he's really laboring to maintain position in these waves.
Adding to the challenge, the captain of the HOS Explorer has even less margin for error, because the replacement thruster is now taking up half the back deck. One false move during this part of the operation, and it is goodbye thruster exchange.
Okay, one rigger come to you. Stand by there.
Touchdown. It's not exactly a bullseye, but considering the conditions, that was pretty smooth. Still, it's only half the story.
Right now, they're gonna bring in the rest of the cable, clear the rigging, and switch all the cables over to the next thruster. We gotta get the new one connected and lift it off as soon as possible, because every second counts in this critical environment.
Just when you thought things couldn't get any worse.
Holy sh... Come back, come back. We lost the cable. That was a big snap. Did you hear that snap?
Both thrusters are safely on board the supply ship for now, but somehow, the tension on a holding rope somewhere became too much, and the whole crane lifting line is swinging like mad.
We just lost one of the polypropylene lines. It's gotta be 4 inches in diameter. Just popped. Whew, this is a rough time.
The lines coming out from under the boulder are still attached to the old thrusters sitting on the supply vessel's deck. There's tension on the lines, and there's tension in the air.
This is a very dangerous situation. It couldn't have come at a worse time. The HOS Explorer at this point is tied to the boulder. It cannot cut and run. The fun never stops out here.
The news from the bridge is not good. Another one of the clevises attached to the thruster has been damaged. We are out of options. We'll have to disconnect the lines, leave both thrusters on the support vessel while we fix the clevis and try again later. For 3 full days, Operation Thruster Swap is put on hold. 9th day of the fix.
Yeah, it just doesn't stop out here.
After a number of big setbacks, Captain DeBoer is waiting to check the next weather forecast before pushing the go button on the thruster swap.
Today's the morning. I can feel it. A little bit of swell, but we're gonna get it done.
The pressure is really on to get this job done now. The ops team just can't afford any more delays. The HOS Explorer has got to get into position.
Still having a lot of trouble. You can hear that big clack, 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 clack.
That's the turbo diesel struggling with the conditions. Here comes the ROV. It'll follow the new thruster from the moment it hits the water until it's positioned under the Balder's hull.
That's a good sign everybody's determined to get it done this time.
This is a critical moment. The lines from the winches on the Balder's deck are now connected through the hull and onto the thruster on the supply ship. The two vessels are now literally tied together. One slip and a line or clevis could snap, or the thruster could end up being dragged off the back of the Explorer. They've got to move quickly, efficiently, and right now.
Things are going great. They've uncovered the seals, the O-rings in both areas, so they're ready to go in the water. I think we're really close.
Nice. There she goes.
All right, they did it. They got it off the deck. Now you're gonna hear the Explorer power up and get out of the way, because he's been anxious to get out of here for a while, I'm sure. Time to get wet.
Now the thruster's in the water, and it's up to the guys operating the crane, the vertical winches, and the eyes and ears of the ROV team.
Next to the tower. The cables are coming down, and they go up to the port side, to the TSM next to the tower.
The total distance from the Explorer to the thruster's housing is about 75 feet, but they have to take their time getting there.
13 meters, that's 40 feet. 40 feet? 40 feet, something like that.
About 40 feet, and we'll turn around.
This is all about shifting loads, transferring the weight from the crane to the winches smoothly. The biggest challenge here is keeping the lines from crossing and making sure the clevises don't come under any side pressure so they don't crack again.
Yeah, we'll just have a look. All right.
Once the transfer of the weight is successful, the thruster should be positioned directly underneath its housing. The ROV will let the crew see exactly how it's lining up under the hull. Getting the new thruster smoothly back into its housing is going to be a difficult job. The 3 winch lines are the only way to keep the thruster perfectly vertical. It's an extremely delicate balancing act. It's time for the divers to take charge. Ryan's going in for a crucial dive. He has to release the line from the crane so the thruster can be lined up perfectly vertical. If it all goes well, this could be our last dive.
This is more like it. Visibility is much better down here today. About 20 feet. Still not enough to see all the way to the thruster, but it's beautiful down here. Check this thing out. This is what I've been waiting to see. This is another crucial task for the divers. Ryan's working between the thruster and the Balder, trying to clean out the gunk. Even the smallest barnacle left inside the housing could damage the O-rings, and at this stage, that's just not an option. Is this thing super cool or what? This is the business end of the thruster. Take a look at the size of this prop. You wouldn't want to be anywhere near this thing when it's in operation, churning out 110,000 pounds of thrust. This thing would suck you in, dice you up, and spit you straight out. Ryan's almost finished cleaning out the inside of the thruster housing. There are very few people on the planet who've ever seen this. Absolutely amazing. Honcho, these 3 attachment points are holding all this weight. Before we can pull this thruster into its housing, Ryan has to release the crane line. But he's having trouble getting that bolt out. It's been under immense pressure throughout the day, and it looks like it's stuck fast.
Diver is still disconnecting the shackle. Shackle is loose. Oh, not yet.
He's got to get that crane line disconnected because it's pulling sideways on the thruster. It'll be easier to lift once all of that side load is off. Hang on, I think he needs a hand. Once again, all my air is gone. It's lame. I would have liked to have stayed and seen that thruster gone in, but I think I better get out.
Oh, yeah, was it good? Oh, yeah. It's great down there. The pin to the shackle was really jammed in there. There's so much tension from the overhead crane and this 1-inch cable. I got my hands around this shackle pin, pulling and pulling on the thing, and it just wouldn't come. So I kept having to slack in the crane a little bit, and he's beating on the other side of the shackle pin to get it to come through. And finally, got my foot up on the side of the fin, and I was able to just yank it free. Whew. That's the way to get it done right there.
We're down to the last phase of the operation. With the crane line free, the vertical winches have to go to work to pull the thruster into position.
These are the last few minutes of the fix. The thruster's being raised into position, and the last fragile part are those O-rings around the bottom lip. Those O-rings have got to seat just right, so they're carefully maneuvering 38 tons into position.
Ja, wat is op. Wit op, oké.
The thruster has its cap into the recess, and they're just using the linear winches to slowly pull it up into place. It's a tense moment. If they don't lift completely evenly on the winches, it could turn sideways, out of plumb a tiny bit, and it would just rip that housing right off. It could rip the O-ring.
Alle plastic is eraf, hè? Ja, ja, krijg je door.
Bam. That's it. It's in. Boy, just seeing those last few inches pull up into place, the whole thruster clunks into position. O-ring seals slipped right into the inside of the housing, the whole thing, boom. Just like that. It's fixed.
After a marathon hour down below the ship, wrestling with the thruster, Ryan comes to the surface with a smile.
Man, thank you very much, man. It's my pleasure.
Thanks for the help, huh?
Anytime, anytime. You did it. Hank, congratulations.
Thank you.
Well done.
Thank you for your help.
Ah, it's my pleasure.
You did well.
Shackle pin, no problem. Yeah, it's a big one.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, that's great. Thanks, boss. It's in. Thruster's fixed. Time to go home. I've come to the end of my 9-day stint here on board the Balder. Of course, the day we're set to leave, the sun comes out, the seas are totally calm. It's a perfect day for doing work. After all the time I've spent here, I gotta take my hat off to the people on board, the riggers who work the deck, the crane operators, to the divers who do their work on the bottom in incredible conditions. Now the thruster's repaired, this vessel's fixed, and it's ready to move on to the next job. And so am I. Adios, Balder.
Whew. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to welcome you on this brand new National Geographic show with your new host, Riley.
Yeah, this is nice.
Yes, we brought you in a very special team of divers.
You got it. No, go, man, go. You're losing your beard. Yeah, there we go. Yeah.
Yeah, I need your sunnies there.
Of course.
Yeah. All right. Is that any cool?
It's cool.
I feel much better now.